Sanvi runs some tests on her blood sample and finds a foreign protein similar to the one in Cal's blood. She believes that something happened on the plane that caused the protein to miraculously appear in every passenger. As she is telling Ben about this on the phone, he finds a condom under his bed. He figures it must belong to Grace's boyfriend Danny. Outside, Cal's old best friend Kevin arrives at the house to meet Olive. Cal is shocked to discover that Kevin is dating his twin. In a fit of rage, he tells his parents that Olive snuck out of the house last night. Olive, on the other hand, is disappointed because they never break the twin pact. Later, she calls him out for it, and Cal reveals that he doesn't feel like himself because of all the changes. The twins solve their differences and return to being their normal selves. Meanwhile, Ben and Michaela go to Kelly's mall to investigate her death. They find a woman who runs away as soon as she sees them. The siblings catch her and inquire how she knows Kelly. It turns out that Kelly's husband Taylor threatens and abuses the mall workers every day because they are illegal immigrants. The last time Kelly came here, the girl pushed her because she thought she was here to do the same, but Kelly revealed she wanted to help the workers. Ben and Michaela discover that Taylor killed his wife because she was trying to change the way he manages their business, which would result in a loss. They bring Taylor in for questioning, but he has several alibi of the night saying that he was in a restaurant. Moreover, no evidence hints that he hired a hitman. As a result, he is declared innocent. In the following scene, Ben finds a stranger in his house and attacks him, but he turns out to be a friend of Grace. After his departure, Ben loses his temper and asks Grace how many men she has had in the house. Grace replies that the guy used to come to fix the sink and help them in their time of need. She was alone for 5 years, raising a daughter and running a business, which means she had to take people's help. Ben apologizes for his outburst, but their relationship doesn't seem to be the same. Later that night, Michaela goes to Evie's house to apologize to her parents yet again. She is received by Evie's father, who reveals that Beverly is missing. She has been asked by the police to stay home in case she returns, but someone has to look for her around the neighborhood. Michaela immediately gets in his car and drives around the block. She comes across Beverly at a junction where a car is about to hit her. After confirming that Beverly is okay, Michaela goes to the other car and finds Kelly's maid inside. She has Kelly's missing necklace by her side, which confirms that she is the killer. In the following scene, the maid confesses her crimes. She and Taylor had started a new life together after Kelly's disappearance, but after she returned, the maid was back to being a stranger to Taylor. Hence, she killed her out of her jealousy and stole her necklace. Michaela is praised for solving her second case in less than a month. At home, Grace tells Ben that he is the love of her life. She never stopped loving him in all of the 5 years that she thought he was dead. They hug each other and solve their differences. Later that day, Ben and Michaela go to meet Sanvi. She has found out that every passenger's MRI shows the symptoms of a stroke victim. This would mean that all of them had a stroke when they were on the plane, but no one felt it. To find out more about the matter, Sanvi needs to experiment on Kelly's brain, but it turns out that it has been transported by a government agency to a secret location. Meanwhile, Vance's team is keeping a close eye on the passengers present at the airport at the time the plane exploded. They are actively trying to find connections between the passengers and how they had the same urge at the same time. A flashback from the day of disappearance shows us that the flight attendant, Bethany, was doing something fishy on the plane. Sanvi is walking down the hallways in the hospital when suddenly she sees a moving statue in front of her. There are also wet footprints on the floor, but they disappear when she looks back at them. It seems to be another calling, but she cannot make sense of it. A while later, a frantic patient jumps at her, saying that the flight attendant is behind all this. Sanvi is shocked because he knows Bethany's name as well. Somewhere else, Michaela and Jared are paired for a mission where they have to stay outside a gang's hideout until they are asked to barge in. While they are at it, Michaela finds out that Jared pulled some strings to make him pair up with her. Suddenly, she sees an angel statue in front of her and gets a calling asking her to save him. In the meantime, Olive and her friend are at a cosmetic shop trying out a new makeup line. Olive wants to buy lipstick but has no money. She instinctively shoplifts it. However, a guard catches her in the act. Later, Ben goes to pick her up but finds Danny already with her. He is Grace's ex-boyfriend, who Olive still thinks of as a father figure. He hands Olive over and walks away, but Ben cannot help but feel disheartened. He realizes that he is no longer the first person Olive thinks of when she is in trouble. Meanwhile, Michaela makes the connection that the voice is asking her to save the person who has gone undercover in the mission. She convinces Jared to barge in even though it might destroy the entire mission. To their misfortune, the calling is wrong and the mission is botched. Jared is blamed for the mishap because he is the one who made the call. Olive feels awful for what she did, but she didn't want her father to know she is a screw-up. Ben makes her understand that he loves her as much as he loved her 5 years ago, no matter how much she has changed. Then, we see Sanvi go to the air hostess's place and tell her about the mentally ill patient who knows her. Bethany finally reveals that the man's name is Thomas. He is a gay man who was about to be killed by his family in Jamaica. Hence, Bethany helped him by getting him on the plane. When they landed, he was supposed to get out of the cargo hatch and meet his boyfriend in the city. However, because of everything that happened, he was left alone in an unknown city. Someone turned him into the police and he ended up in the hospital. Sanvi and Bethany go to the hospital to free him, but they find out he has already escaped. He doesn't know anyone in the city, which means they have no way to find him before the police do. They meet Michaela outside the hospital and run away because Vance is also in the building looking for them. He has found out that Thomas was in the cargo hold of Flight 828 because of his fingerprints. Bethany is told about the wet footprints in the angel statue that Sanvi and Michaela have been seeing. She realizes that the calling is pointing towards the Bethesda fountain that has an angel statue standing on top, with their feet inside water. When they reach the place, Thomas is sitting by the fountain. It is finally proven that the callings were asking Michaela to help Thomas. They bring the poor guy to Kelly's boiler room, which has been closed for years. He has to stay there for a few days before they decide what to do next. In the following scene, Michaela and Ben are returning home. Ben thinks they should start avoiding the callings because it is putting their lives in danger. He's afraid that eventually, his family will be harmed because of this. Then, we are shown a flashback from 5 years ago. Grace and the family are on their flight back to New York. Olive insists that they stay at the airport until Flight 828 arrives, but since that will take a few more hours, they return home. They are soon informed that the flight has disappeared mid-air with no evidence of a crash. Jared, Lourdes, Grace, and the family are worried about the three on the plane, unaware of what is about to happen next. A few months later, Grace is shut down from the world and fallen into a spiral of depression. Olive has to eat whatever is in the house and take care of her mother at the same time. When Grace realizes she is hurting her daughter, she goes to support groups and therapy. This is where she meets Danny, who makes her laugh for the first time after the incident. Lourdes and Jared are also mourning together. This makes them bond and understand each other like no one else. 2 years after the incident, Jared is promoted and they go to a bar to celebrate. One thing leads to another and they end up kissing. Back in the present, Ben refuses to help Thomas for the safety of his family. However, a voice in his head is repeatedly telling him that it's all connected. He and Cal go out for a guy's day together to get their mind off things. After having fun at the carnival, they decide to take the subway back home. Suddenly, Cal runs away, driven by a calling. He runs down several tunnels, shouting that everything is connected. Ben is shocked to realize that his son is also experiencing the abnormal phenomenon. Somewhere else, Vance is losing his mind because they lost Thomas and no one has any information on him. But he finds out that Bethany was in the hospital at the time Thomas escaped, which leads them to think she is the one hiding him. Bethany is with her girlfriend and they are about to go to Thomas with food and supplies, but just then, Vance finds her and arrests her for helping an illegal immigrant come to the US. After running for several minutes, Cal stops when he reaches the place where Thomas is hidden. Ben is in utter shock. Now that he knows Cal is also involved in this, he is ready to help Thomas and serve the callings. A while later, Cal says that someone is coming to get them. It turns out the person is Bethany's girlfriend who is here to bring Thomas to a safer place. At the same time, Danny meets Grace and tells her that he still wants to be involved in Olive's life. For 3 years, he has been a parent to her and he cannot just stop loving her like a father. He promises to stay out of Grace and Ben's relationship, but begs her to let him see Olive once in a while. In the following scene, Jared comes back home to Lourdes. She has found out that he put his job at risk for Michaela. She knows how much he loves his job and this would mean he is ready to sacrifice it for the sake of his ex-fiancée. The two are facing relationship troubles because of Michaela's return. Jared tells Lourdes that he loves her, but even he isn't sure if it is true. Then, we see the day when the plane returned after 5 years. Danny found out and didn't argue before seeing himself out of the house. Similarly, Jared and Lourdes were at a loss for words and didn't know what they should do. In the present, Ben is doing his best to make connections between the callings and their purpose in life. He tells Michaela that he is doing it all for Cal, to make sure the callings won't hurt him. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.